Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for your time this afternoon. Today, I'm joined by Susanna Lebron, the CEO of Y New South Wales. Hey, Susanna. First, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the various lands on which we are meeting today. For me, that's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. This week, as you well know, is NAIDOC Week, which celebrates the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Indigenous Australians are the world's oldest living culture and have lived here for over 60,000 years before colonisation. And there were over 500 different clan groups or nations around the continent, with many distinctive cultures, beliefs and languages. It's really remarkable, and we have to learn so much from our Indigenous cultures here in Australia. There's so much to learn from our deep heritage. I want to share with you the winner this year for NAIDOC's poster competition, Tyrone Wagana, a Perth-based artist and designer. I'm now going to play his video.
From out of the Dreamtime, with its overlapping colours, came the rainbow serpent. And as it coiled and settled, it formed the shape of Australia. Its colours are our colours, connecting us to the country within its form. The country where we are and have been since the dawn of time. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. I am Tyrone Wagana, a Noongar and Saba Islander and 2020 NAIDOC poster winner.
I hope that we all take a moment this week to celebrate our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, maybe not by attending an event for those of us in Victoria, but perhaps by continuing our education into our shared history as a country and the achievements and resilience and amazingness of Indigenous Australians like the poster. Well, it has been a really eventful week in world news and here in Victoria. What a big news day it was on Sunday to find out who was the new US president-elect, and then hours later, Daniel Andrews confirming we would be moving into a new phase of relaxing restrictions from Monday this week. Now, I'm not going to talk about the US elections today, as I'm sure you've heard enough about that, but I will talk about the new restrictions we are now under in Victoria. One of the big moves was to move the Ring of Steel, and it's so exciting, I think, for Metro to be at one with regional Victoria. I really hope that you've had an opportunity to visit your loved ones who you've not been able to see for the last 4 or so months. Further to the Ring of Steel being lifted, on the screen are the restrictions that came into effect on Monday. In the screen any minute. The 25-kilometre radius limit has been lifted, and you can even travel intrastate. What remains mandatory is working from home where you can and face masks. Hospitality capacities have increased indoor to 40 people, outdoor to 70 people. And then excitingly, on 11:59 p.m, Sunday, the 22nd of November, we can have up to 10 people at a time visiting our household. Up to 50 people can gather outdoors, including religious gatherings. Community venues, indoor religious gatherings and ceremonies can happen with group limits of 20 capped at 100 people. Hospitality capacities increase to 100 people indoors and outdoors 200. So what does that mean for us and our sectors in Victoria? As you can see on the slide, we are currently in the third step of restrictions, and we'll be moving to the last step on the 22nd of November, and then there'll be a further announcement for COVID normal into the future. So more specifically, for our recreation and King Swim sectors, this means from 11:59 Sunday, the 8th of November, so that's now, indoor physical recreation has to be at a density quotient of 1 person per 8 square metres. For indoor and in the pool, it's 1 per 4 square metres. Patron cap of 10 people per space, 20 people per venue, with a maximum group size of 10. Patrons continue to wear face masks unless out of breath. We've got staggered class times and time gaps of 15 minutes to avoid congestion and required to have a COVID-safe marshal on site. In addition, for indoor community sport, this is permitted for children under 18s where there's a distance of 1.5 metres can be maintained between a maximum of 20 people. Spectator limits is 1 adult where the child requires supervision. And for pools, as I said, the patron cap of 20 people or a density quotient of 1 per 4 square metres, whichever is fewer. Then from 11:59 on Sunday the 22nd, indoor physical recreation and community sport, which is contact and non-contact, patron cap of up to 100 people, group sizes or classes of 20 people, and large sporting venues can only have a 25% of their normal patron capacity. Outdoor sport and recreation, contact and non-contact, the patron cap will be 500. Group sizes align with public gathering limits of 50 people. Indoor pools, the patron cap will increase to 50, excluding supervisors and instructors, and outdoor pools, including lessons, will be open with no patron cap, which is great. All of these, in terms of the requirements, is no more than 1 person per 4 square metres for the pools, actually across the board. This slide shows, the next slide, the current confirmed reopening dates for our recreation centres, which are staggered, and you can find these listed in the emergency.ymca.org.au website. As always, when you are required to return to work, you will be provided at least 3 days' notice in writing. For Kingswim, we've been open since Monday with great feedback from families and staff who are so excited to be back. Now on to camps. I'm really pleased that the Department of Education have now released that all schools may participate in school camps. At this point, just 1 school at a camp at a time. With no restrictions on travel between metropolitan Melbourne and regional Victoria, regional schools can now book to attend our metro camps, and metro schools can book our regional camps. School groups have already been booking our camps as teachers and principals appreciate the role camps play for students to reconnect and enjoy each other's company and the outdoors. For community groups who would like to come on camp, they're still restricted to the community gathering guidelines of 10 people maximum. And we assume, although we need more advice, that we will go up to 50 people after the 22nd of November. It's great to see our camp staff coming back and providing experiences, particularly in their day camps that they've been doing, and putting smiles back on the faces of our young people coming to camp. And it's so exciting for more of our services are opening up across all our sectors. And I just want to thank you all for your support, patience, and commitment as we have navigated this process together. You might recall last week I said there are approximately 2,000 staff back at work, and this number just this week has increased to 2,700 and rising. I know it hasn't been easy, but with 0 new COVID cases for almost 2 weeks straight now, it really makes it all feel worthwhile, and I hope you feel the same way too. Moving on to Thank You Staff and Volunteer Awards 2020. This is next Friday at 4:30. Registrations are now open to attend, and we'd love to see you all there as it's an opportunity to say thank you and to celebrate our achievements together. From today, we are going to start doing these webinars fortnightly, and that's based on the advice and feedback that you gave us because we're really focused on reopening. So next week, we'll have the awards, and then the following week, we'll do another webinar, and then it will be fortnightly after that. So without further ado, I'd now like to introduce you to Susanna. Susanna has kindly agreed to come on today to share with us some insights and advice after having led Y New South Wales through COVID-19, and of course, having been reopened for many more months longer than those of us here in Victoria. I'm sure you're going to love to hear what to expect working in a COVID normal environment. Over to you, Susanna.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Firstly, I think you should all be so immensely proud of the resilience that you've had over these months. I know there's always a nice rivalry between New South Wales and Victoria, but I can assure you we all looked upon, and, you know, I think with the right empathy, we're very much worried about your own well-being, but also what would re-emerging look like when you did that. The next 10 days are going to go super, super quick for you, more than 10 days before the 29th of November. So use them wisely is probably the recommendation I can give you, having been there when the switch and the flick of changes happens. So just moving on to the second slide. I think I've got Sonia's being my thank you. So just before, because this is really important to give you the mindset of Why New South Wales, we actually were smashing it, like I'm sure you guys were with lots of areas of your programs and services. We were, for the first time, going to have a surplus after 7 years of deficit. So let that sink in. I never let my board forget that when I'm in a bit of a difficulty. So we were really in a great space. We had some awesome tenders that we were involved in, but we actually had come off a really bad, tough time as well. We'd had a cyber attack, which grounded us for 6 weeks. We had a coronial that wasn't great because we were revisiting some learnings. We had bushfires and floods, and also, just to mix it up a bit, some key leadership changes happened, and then COVID struck. So we were on a really great high, but then unfortunately COVID put us back in our place and reminded us about how we needed to work together. I'll go on to the next slide. Thanks, Sonia. So one of the things that my team called out was that we actually found a very small window to bring in the leadership team together and key influencers to talk about what was the opportunity that COVID was presenting us. And I'm sure you guys have had lots of conversations about the what if. So now is real, it's about to happen. So we had started to prepare ourselves with what could look like as our emerging business. We had massive stakeholder management and we accelerated that. We were in the middle of tender processes. We did not stop putting our eye to opportunity. We repurposed grants, which I know you guys with the Virtual Y have had such tremendous success, and we're so proud to be part of engaging with that. People engagement, like today's an exact example of what we were doing as well. But my goodness, for anyone from the finance team on board or operations, scenarios, modeling, what was going to be the magic figure at the end of this, that was happening as well. So I don't think we were too different. And on to the next slide. I can't say after because we're not at the after stage. We are emerging through COVID and out of COVID. The cold hard stats. So when we first came out in recreation, we were absolutely 100%, marginally up by 80% less than what we had year on year last year. Huge figures. We had done really good stakeholder management in terms of addressing the deficit we knew that was going to happen. We went from that 100% to 80% to about 50% to 20% now in a very short period of 3 months. I'm going to place a bet that you guys aren't going to have 3 months before you get to some sort of semi-normal because you've had so many people impacted. Children's services, children's programs was really around 50% for a little while, and then it's come back to very close to last year's results, about 18% less than last year, but vacation care is still strong. We constantly spoke to our stakeholders in this emerging piece. We kept them close. We watched what our customers were saying on every single comms pathway that we had. We tapped into our devices on what were customers saying. Now, believe it or not, highly said, wow, your staff are amazing, your cleanliness, oh my gosh, it's off the charts. The programs you're doing with children, considering the conditions that you're under, the youth and community programs that you're doing, wow, you've pivoted, it's all online, it's fantastic. But actually your staff could be more friendly, believe it or not. Now, I think what I need to call out here is fatigue will be very evident. So lessons learned, understand your strengths and weaknesses, land on that pretty quickly as you come out. Look at your business lines, see what you can do differently. And this is both support services and your teams on the front line. Now's the opportunity to recalibrate and think what you could do differently. So we reset, we divested, we took the opportunity, we invested. Yes, I went to the board and said, please, may I have some money? And we leaned out because we knew the business was going to be different and we didn't know how long it would be. We knew we could always push and pull that if we needed to. We had a couple of new tenders, which I'm showing here some great pictures of COVID safe environments in Western Sydney, as well as the ACT. But we also heard very strongly that the strength of the Y brand through COVID, which Virtual Y will be one of those examples, and out of that is that the Y is absolutely the organisation that people are turning to for guidance. I had the CEO of Sports New South Wales say that one of our sites set the bar for COVID standards. So I challenge you, try and be that because you've got it in you, and the Y is absolutely the organisation that people will look to. Probably the second last slide is, I think, my people slide from memory. Sonia, I think I'm about to go into people. Yep. So, all of you amazing people, the culture at the Y is second to none. No one can manufacture it. The stories we tell, the stories that we know is what is so precious. So remind yourself, but please, please, please promise me you'll look after yourselves, because fatigue will be evident. Where you think you're only going to be engaged for 8 hours, you're going to feel compelled to be there for 16 because you want to respond to the needs of your community. So take it easy, be kind to yourself. Support services and frontline, those two must stay blended. You must stay connected, because a lot of people are still going to work from home, and our frontline teams that were out on the front line, we had to be really conscious of what they were dealing with. So just be kind to yourself and remind yourself that people are going to be experiencing very different environments. We have got a 12-month tactical rolling plan. We have no budget because we don't know what's going on at this point in time. We are forecasting shorter goals. We're keeping our eye on the goals and what we're trying to achieve. We put in a balanced scorecard, believe it or not. So we were laser focused, and we all knew from an enterprise right down into our businesses, what is it that we're all here to focus on? Absolutely financial, but purpose. The two are hand in hand. And we adjusted to the way of working. We had to do things differently. So finally, and I think I've probably said this a little bit, don't underestimate what you are capable of. You have already proven to Australia what Victoria is capable of, and you are the shining light of resilience and handling adversity and being put through so much challenges. We are so excited that you guys are emerging out of this. You are more than capable, but at the same time, be kind to yourself, celebrate the little things that are going to happen, and don't be remiss of celebrating those. Look after yourselves and each other, adjust to the change and uncertainty, but please take care of yourself, because you'll be swept up in the excitement and the changes. But at the same time, it is going to be a marathon. It's not a sprint race, and you just got to slow it down when you can. So that's probably it.
Susanna, I think that's just fantastic advice. I'm just sitting there listening to every word that you're saying and thinking, gosh, we've just got to take heed of every single element of that. And everybody who's listening now, and when you listen to this recording, please be kind to yourself. They were the words that I heard mostly from Susanna just then. You've got to be kind to yourself. It's not going to be easy as you think. It's going to be incredibly exciting though. Actually, as we were preparing this, I prepare with Eloise, and I think we had said exciting about 20 times. So we cut it down a little bit, but otherwise it was really good. Thank you, Susanna. That's great. A couple of comments. Yay to Victoria getting back to what we do best from your co-workers in New South Wales. So thank you for coming on, New South Wales. And a question for Susanna. Are office staff in New South Wales still working from home? If not, how does the office work right now? Good question.
So we have two call centres that are predominantly coming in most of the time, even though we've set them up remotely, which is our IT help desk, as well as our childcare team that take enrolments and things like that. The majority of our office-based workers are working remotely from home or at designated places within our centres. We have a New South Wales guideline that is discouraging people from using public transport, and until that comes out in a different way, we're abiding to that and encouraging people to work from home. We did one survey. We're looking at doing a second survey just to gauge what would it look like if people want to actually come back to a work environment. And we're putting those together at the moment in readiness for what might come out as a direction.
Fantastic. So someone's just said, great insight, Susanna. Thank you for sharing. It's great to have a crystal ball view from your experience in New South Wales. Particularly appreciate the focus on balanced scorecard and integration of support and frontline teams. Thanks again. And this one's a weird one. Will either Y Vic or Y New South Wales get to visit Y Queensland in person first? Well, I'd love to. So is this like a competition? Like, they're going to let New South Wales or Victoria, they clearly don't like either of us, but that's okay. I think that's what you're trying to say. Well, what do you think, Susanna?
Hopefully you got some joy out of the fact that we did balance out the State of Origin last night for anyone.
I was watching that for once, yeah. All right, well, that is the end of the questions. Thank you so much, Susanna. I don't think there's anything else. Finally, I just have two updates from Y Gear. Firstly, they are in the process of creating a new staff polo and wanted to ensure that you have the opportunity to provide your opinion. So you can see the polos up there. In my follow-up email, you'll receive a link to the survey where you can provide your preferences for design, fabric and comfort. Secondly, the team at YMCA Rebuild are offering a 20% discount. This is for everyone in New South Wales too, for Y staff and volunteers for their handcrafted woodwork products hosted on the Y Gear website. They're beautiful products. And the code is YRebuild20, and it's live now and valid for 1 week only. So it will expire midnight next Thursday. So hopefully you can get some Christmas presents or some birthday presents on it. The code will be sent out in the follow-up email, as I said, so feel free to share it with your family and friends. It's a great chance to get some Christmas presents. There's cheese boards, there's picnics. For picnics, there's beautiful chess sets, there's toys. It's just really gorgeous. And just to remind you, YMCA Rebuild is a social enterprise providing young offenders a second chance through training, education and employment. And your purchase absolutely helps create employment pathways for these young people. So once again, thank you for joining us today. And thank you so much, Susanna. Kurjan asked, are there 3 new pins too? Kurjan, I know you love your pins. I'm sure we'll get you more. I think what he's intimating, Susanna, is he'd love a New South Wales pin. Yeah, there you go. All right, thank you very much, everybody, and have a lovely weekend. Cheers, everybody. Bye. Bye, Susanna. Thanks, Sonia.